I'm going to mark both of these out so that I can drill a hole in the center of this. That will be to hold the ball joint, and yeah, it'll be threaded out to 8 by 1.25. 22 by 22, so 11 and 11. After a little bit of time on the sander, and I have one completed, I'm going to complete the other one off camera, and then yeah, on to the next step. All right, I got one brace installed other than having the right bolts or having it epoxied in place, but I thought I would film measuring out the second one. So basically all I did was install the joints, then lined it up with the flange. Because these things are adjustable, I don't have to get it exact. So I'll just mark it here and then cut that piece off in the lathe. In order to cut it off, I found that a hacksaw blade held against my tool post with the lathe running in reverse works quite well. I'll show you guys how that works now. Running in reverse. And that's that. Alright, so let's see if I got it even close to the right length. It's looking good. Alright, There we have it. 2 surf braces installed. I just need to put some epoxy on there. I obviously need to take the tape off. It's just on there so it doesn't get damaged while it's being set up. Here comes probably the most scary part of this project, and that is finally epoxying everything together. So I have the West Systems epoxy that I bought in these big containers. It's a 5-to-1 ratio. I have the 5-to-1 pump system, so it's 1 pump of each, but I don't need nearly that much, so I'm going to try to weigh it out on the scale. Turn the scale on. I'm going to set it to grams. I'm going to put 5 grams of this and 1 gram of this and see what that looks like for volume. It's probably going to be lots. Yeah, it's definitely going to be lots. That's 1 gram, 2 grams, 3. I can hear my cat crying. 5. Ooh, that snuck up quick. Alright, because the scale keeps turning off on me, I'm going to have to weigh an empty cup. Tear an empty cup and put it on the scale and see if it is 6 grams. Alright, so we've got our empty cup. Tear that. And then if this weighs 6 grams, it does, we'll mix it up. Put a little more. This epoxy is very thin also. It's laminating epoxy, so this isn't really its intended use. What I might have to do is do one end at a time. Because the epoxy is so thin, I'm going to have trouble keeping it where I need it to be, so I think what I'm going to do is coat a little bit on the outer surface. Why am I explaining it? I'll just show you. I'm going to put a little bit of epoxy in the end of the tube. Spread it around, make sure I have full coverage. Allow it to run inside a little bit. I got an excessive amount of epoxy in there. I'm going to coat the outside of this thoroughly. Make sure I get in all the grooves. The idea of the grooves is to help hold the epoxy, so it wouldn't make sense if I didn't fill them. Now that I have lots of epoxy on there, I'm going to slide it into the tube. It's going to make a bit of a mess, which I will wipe off. I know the camera can't really see much of this. Put this piece of paper here so that I don't get too much dripping. Alright, take a piece of tape and wipe off the excess epoxy. And then I'm going to push this in and put a piece of tape around it. Hi, buddy. And now I'm going to let it cure standing on end. So I'm going to stand this up and let it cure. And then once they're once these two are cured, I'll flip it around and do the other ends. It is the next day and my epoxy has hardened. I put some on a piece of cardstock here, and it's nice and hard. Off camera I did the other end, so this is the end that you guys saw me do. And off camera I did this end. It was the same thing, so I didn't bother filming it twice. I thought about taking the jet ski out today. It's not supposed to be terribly nice, it's supposed to be overcast, but tomorrow it's supposed to rain. The next chance I'll have to take it out really will be Friday. I got bored last night while I was waiting for the epoxy to harden, and so I took the steering apart. I didn't make a video of it, but as you can see, it's apart. So I got the braces on now. They're tightened up, and all I need to do is pull this masking tape off. Nice. I like it. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but I like it. What do you guys think? Nice and sturdy. It turns out that putting the hex head on here was completely unnecessary. I can put lots of load on it just by hand. So tightening these up by hand can put enough load on here. I can actually see the chassis flexing. So that is definitely something that I didn't need to do, which could have saved me a lot of time. Let's see, other than that, I will be building something that ties these together and is a place to mount my relay, and yeah, anyway, eventually I'll be putting the cooling lines on so they run along there, and on the other side I will attach the fuel lines. But for now, that's gonna do it. As you can see, I have the steering all apart, so I'm thinking about doing some modifications there just because it's a little bit wobbly. Not sure if I'll make a video of it because I'm doing a modification on top of somebody else's modification, and the next video you might see me saying I need to order some parts from eBay so my steering will work again. It looks like I'm not going to get out for a ride today or tomorrow, so possibly Friday afternoon. Hopefully I can get out and actually test this thing. Worst comes to worst, even if the weather's really poor, I might drive down to the reservoir so I can back this in, attach to the truck, and basically do some testing. So I'll leave it strapped on and set the carburetors up and hopefully verify that I don't have any ignition problems anymore. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.